Hey everybody, this is Josh Runquist here for the Heavy Debriefings YouTube channel, here to talk about another edition of Out Today and What I Missed, this time for April 11th, 2025. We have 20 brand new albums to talk about, 9 that come out today, 11 I missed along the way. As of recording this, last night I had a major nervous breakdown, and I really need to do this for my own mental health, but I'm also hoping you find at least one album here that you'll dig. Let's get into it. We start off today with the 4th album from the band Dormant Ordeal with Tooth and Nail. This is a band from Poland that is just writing some crushingly heavy music, but it scales back just enough for effectiveness. It is a predominantly heavy album on the heavier ends of death metal, almost bordering on brutal death metal, and you'll hear bands like Behemoth, Ulcerates, Hate Eternal, etc., but you'll also hear these dissonant and atmospheric moments, almost avant-garde at times, kind of reminding you of bands like Deathspell Omega, Gorgira, Decapitated. It's quite the blend of sounds, but I think it works magnificently. The production is stellar, and the songwriting is exactly what it calls for. This is how you make a death metal stand out in a genre of death metal where so many bands do start to sound the same after a while. It's stellar work, and I hope others are going to check this one out because this is how you make death metal stand out. Next up, we have Empyrean Sanctum with Detachment from Reality. The sophomore album from Justin Kellerman is a progressive metal album that fits all the needs of what I'm looking for in this style, particularly in the more modern style of progressive metal. It is a proggy album for sure, and it hits so many moments that you associate with the style, but it never gets out of control wanky, nor does it have 20-minute epics that go nowhere. It's just heavy enough, and it never loses sight of the melodies, harmonies, and catchy moments that songs should have to grab people's attention. It features some guest appearances, and some on the entire album, from members of bands like Alkaloid, Revocation, Scar Symmetry, and the Gabriel Construct. It really does have a high caliber backing to make Kellerman's music shine the best that it possibly can. As I said, this is my kind of progressive metal these days, and it is exactly what it needs to be effective. If you want that perfect balance of technical and catchy, you need Empyrean Sanctum. Now we have Exterminatus with Echoes from a Distant Star, Part 1. Warhammer 40k inspired tech death? Yeah, that sounds pretty good to me. Featuring past and present members of the Zenith Passage, Xenocide, Atavistia, and more. This is some brutal tech death that will pummel you into the ground and make you beg for mercy. What makes this stand out is not just thematically, I mean, just look at the title of the band, I mean, you can already tell it's Warhammer, but musically, it's not just an endless fretboard Olympics or 300 BPM blast beats going on the whole time. I mean, obviously there's moments like that, but the music is so dynamic that it doesn't feel like it's just an endless assault. Don't get me wrong, if that's what you want, that is still here, but there's just enough moments to let you breathe through all of the chaos. The production is crystal clear, and the musicality on display is otherworldly. This is how tech death should be done, and the 3rd album from this Vancouver band perfects that sound. If you want some really, truly inspired tech death, check out Exterminatus. Now we have Fractured Fairy Tales with Parasomnia, the 4th album from this East Coast band. Somehow, the 2nd album, called Parasomnia this year, is an insane display of industrial, black, and death metal all rolled into one. It feels like when you mix Cradle of Filth, Pain, and some more American metal influences all rolled into one. This is a rough listen as the production is very raw and dirty, but I think that's also what the music calls for. I mean, they're called Fractured Fairy Tales, so if the production is a little fractured, it makes sense. The devastating lyrics fit the mood of 2025, the songwriting just blends these styles in a way that sounds odd on paper, but it's so effective when it works. The overall vibe is just begging for a live experience, like if you like what's on record, it's gonna sound better live. For those looking for the extreme ends of these genres, but you still want it to just be catchy enough, you should give this one a shot. Next up, we have I Am Your God with Trinity, the 3rd album from this Finnish outfit that seemingly blends melodeath, modern metal, and the occasional power metal into their sound to create one of the finest melodeath albums of 2025 so far. This is an album with so much ferocity, and it just sucker punches you with these hooky choruses and melodic moments that couldn't be more welcomed in this sound. The production fits like a glove, and the songwritingly simply works in the best of ways. If you dig the likes of Norther, Children of Bodom, Horizon Ignited, and Blood Red Hourglass, you need to bow down to I Am Your God. Now we have Lorraine Luhimo with Falling Through Stars, the sophomore album from Netta Lorraine of Smackbound and Nouru Lohimo of Battle Beast combines the best of what these two do. It's that hard rock, heavy metal, power metal, and a little bit of modern metal, mixing their clean and grittier rock vocals together in perfect harmony. You hit everything from the Runaways to Rainbow to their own bands, and it all just makes sense. Both singers have some of the finest heavy rock vocals in the Finnish world, and it's great to hear them working together again to create music that is meant for anyone who simply enjoys the heavier but also kind of the poppier ends of rock. Everything simply works on this one. It's an album that can help take away from the pain of current times, and honestly, who couldn't use that right now? If this sounds intriguing to you at all, I think you should give this one a proper shot and see if it's for you. Now we have Leak with Necro. One of, if not my favorite old school death metal band is back for their 4th album, and it's exactly what I was hoping for in 2025. Almost 41 minutes and 10 tracks of unadulterated and undead death metal. Whether it hits the near Death Doom territories, does the signature 90s death metal mid-tempo stompers, or it kicks it into 12th gear on a full-on assault, Leak does it flawlessly, and it only gets better as you listen. This is meant for you if you love the likes of Bloodbath, Early Day Entombed, Grave, and Dismember. Leak rises from the grave once again for another slab of old school death metal, and I wouldn't want it any other way. Switching gears, we got Lux Terminus with Cinder. Lux Terminus is back with their sophomore album, and it's been a long wait since 2018. Vikram Shankar and company are some of the most valued members of prog metal going on right now, and of course, Vikram has become pretty much the MVP of prog metal as well, but it's great to see them all coming back together for the power that is Lux Terminus. Going from very jazzy prog rock band to a band that almost celebrates every style of prog is no easy feat to accomplish while sounding authentic, but that's exactly what this trio does. While a majority of the album is instrumental, and it does show off everyone at the band at their finest, there are songs on the album that feature guest appearances from Ross Jennings of Haken, John Pyers of Violet Sin, and vocal harmonies from Espera. This is quality prog. Such quality, you won't even notice that there's no guitars on the album. That's right, a prog metal album with no guitars. Who would have thought? It's just keyboards, bass, and drums, and of course the occasional vocals. That's just the power of the music on hand. Lux Terminus put out one of my favorite albums with their 2018 debut, and I dare say they may have done it again in 2025. Outstanding work. And finally, for brand new albums out today, we end things with Sick and Beautiful with Horror Vacui, which of course is Horror Queen. The 4th album from this Outer Space band, which is currently on a ship of Satan, is easily the band's most accessible and catchiest music they've created to date. While I've enjoyed every album this band has done so far, and I did an interview for their previous album, the band has refined their sound to cut all of the fat in the music and is literally writing music for the music on hand. Some of the songs get into the heavier territory, sometimes a bit more industrial and danceable, but so much of this album feels like it should be on FM rock or even pop radio. This may be an album where that could happen. I can't blame the band for going in this direction, as it has something for everyone who enjoys the more simplistic nature of radio rock without completely leaving behind their industrial and metal days. Somehow mixing 80s through 2020s music in a way that couldn't feel more natural to their unique sound is no easy feat. If you want to hear what should be on your local rock station, pick this one up and demand that you hear it on the station. You'll be doing the world a favor. And now for everything I missed along the way, starting with the band Benediction with Ravage of Empires. Benediction has been through a lot as a death metal band over the past 35 years since their debut album, and now with their 9th album, the band is putting out that style of death metal that made them a staple of the underground to begin with. This is the style of death metal that never goes to the absolute extremes. It hits that perfect balance of bands like Bolt Thrower, Asphyx, Grave, etc. that only goes so fast and only goes for what is necessary. It's that peppy mid-tempo sound that feels much like a sweet spot for the genre that focuses on the riffs, the vocals, and the brutality at hand. The production is exactly what it needs to be for the style. The songwriting is lean and mean. If you want one of the best examples of the death metal style that just feels right, check out the latest album from Benediction. Now we have the 3rd album from Crawling Chaos with what is either pronounced weird or word. It's W-Y-R-D, and I've heard it pronounced both ways, so, pick your poison. Again, this is the 3rd album from this Italian death grind band. It's my first foray into the band, but I've instantly loved what is going on here. It's that perfect blend of grindcore, the heaviest ends of death metal, but somehow having these dissonant, atmospheric, and melodic moments of breathing room that ties everything together. It feels very sophisticated in its brutality. I know that's a strange thing to say, but when you listen to it, it starts to make sense. This is part suffocation, part cattle decapitation, and part septic flesh. If that description captures your interest at all, you need to give Crawling Chaos a proper listen. You just might be blown away. Next, we have Destinity with Ascension. Many people, in my circles at least, discovered this band from their 2021 album In Continuum, but this French band has gone through so many different phases, and they're currently on their 10th album since 1999. I think they finally found the sound that they've been looking for all of this time, hitting that perfect balance of melodeath, of dark tranquility, and thrashier moments like bands like The Crown, and this otherworldly feel that you can only get from a band like Hypocrisy. Roll that all together, you have Destinity. This is without a shadow of the doubt the best album the band has done to date, and it only gets better the more you listen to it. Perfect songwriting, perfect production, it's just perfection. Melodeath doesn't get more refined and defined than this, and if you want the best of it so far in 2025, check out Destinity. Up now we have Demon with Consciousness. Insomnia meets Edge of Sanity. What else could you possibly need? Seriously, this feels like the most epic moments of bands like Edge of Sanity. I mean, think of the Crimson, Purgatory Afterglow era of the band, and you mix that with the melodicness and sadness of Insomnium, and you have Demon. The sophomore album from this Finnish band just hits that scratch that desperately has been needing to be itched for so long in the melodeath sound, and I love every single second of it. From the refined production to the songwriting that just keeps getting better the more you listen to it. This has everything to make a melodeath fan foam at the mouth in excitement. I can't sell it any better than that. If you love melodeath, you need Demon. Now we have Embryum with Timekeeper. The debut album from the San Francisco outfit was something I never would have expected, but I'm so happy that I stumbled upon this. A black gaze band that hits the most ethereal, folky, and nearly orchestrated side of metal all mixed together to create this great black gaze sound. Seriously, the music is so well thought out and orchestrated without sounding symphonic, yet it feels so sophisticated, and it has this great approach of blackened folk era Bathory, while keeping those tinges of bands like Vatnat Visca, Mirkur, and even more Druna at times. This is a spectacular album that can be as unnerving as it is mystical, and it's amazing to see how bands like this are pushing the black gaze genre to see what is possible. And if you want that in your black gaze, check out Embryum. Now we have Elven King with Reader of the Runes, Luna. The final album of Elven King's Reader of the Runes trilogy is easily some of the darkest and heaviest material the band has done to date. Elven King was the second power metal band I ever discovered right after Blind Guardian. In fact, I checked them out the same day, and I still associate the band with songs like The Scythe and The Winter Wake, but hearing them go into almost black metal territory on this trilogy is still quite the shock to the system. Don't get me wrong, if you are looking for that fluffy power folk metal sound, that is still here, but it has so much dark atmosphere throughout all of it, and it does create some of their heaviest music ever. You mix those two sounds together, and I think it truly works. I'm very curious to see what direction they're going to be going into now that this trilogy is over, but until then, hearing all three albums in succession for this trilogy has been quite the trip, and Luna is the perfect cap to it all. Seeing the band actually be able to tour America because of what they're doing now on this trilogy just makes me so happy as a longtime fan, and if you want some of the heaviest ends of power folk and almost getting into black metal territory, check out Elven King. But don't start with Luna, start with the first album of the Reader of the Runes trilogy if you're gonna do that, but just check it out and see if it's for you. Now we have Imperishable with Swallowing the World. The sophomore album from the Swedish outfit is that perfect blend of death metal and black metal, wrapped in this dark, melodic, and melancholic veil that couldn't be more appropriate. Featuring past and present members of Vampire, Portrait, Namian, and Exterminated, this is a band that perfectly captures the horror and sinister tone that is 2025, and yeah, it sadly offers that up on a plate. The melodeath done here with that just right amount of black metal tone to it all just makes everything feel very authentic in the best of ways, and it only gets better the more that you listen to it. If you want to hear something that feels like a mix of Dismember, At the Gates, and the faintest hits of Dark Funeral, yeah, you need this one, and I mean now. Now we have the Man-Eating Tree with Night Verses. Finally, rising from the grave from after a decade comes the Man-Eating Tree. Yanni Marcus of Poison Black has brought back this, and once you know it, Poison Black, from the ashes to fit the dark void that has been left ever since both bands have been put to pasture. But with the Man-Eating Tree, the mix of gothic metal, melodic death, and the occasional death doom is exactly what my sad boy senses need. Catatonia meets the goth era of Amorphous meets Entwine and Sharon. This is easily going to be one of my favorite albums of the year, and it only gets better on every subsequent listen. One of the best goth metal albums of the year, one of the best goth metal albums of the year. Yeah, if you've never checked them out before and you dig this style, you need the Man-Eating Tree. Now we have Morculak with Sanguinaria. And speaking of sophisticated black metal, this is another tomb slab of it. The sophomore album from this Italian band takes everything that works about their debut album and perfects it. The production is still quite raw, and once you know it, it feels as raw as watching the original Nosferatu, but the music behind it is so haunting and enchanting that it feels like this needs to be the soundtrack to a vampire film that is yet to be made. The synths behind it is exactly what sells it for me, making a raw black metal album feel as though you're on the swing of death with Dracula himself. There are also other occasional black gaze, post-black elements that couldn't fit the music any better if they tried. This is for those who enjoy the Order of Nosferatu and Satanic War Master completely, or maybe if you just love the vampiric atmosphere of it all and the setting and the time frame. If you love that stuff, you need to check out Morculak. Next, we have Serpent Rider with the Ichor of Chimera. The debut album from this now Seattle band is the perfect blend of classic metal, heavy metal, and the occasional classic doom metal that I love so very, very much. With a raw but effective production style, this album feels like it was buried in 1984 but unearthed in 2025. The soaring vocals to this classic guitar tone makes the aesthetic of the band feel so effective, and it hits in all the right ways. If you need that mix of bands like Manila Road, Hammers of Misfortune, and even a newer band like Smolder, you have found your new favorite band with Serpent Rider. This is going to be a huge year for revival metal, and I see this band probably getting near the top of it. I can feel it. And finally, we end things today with a band name that I am so sorry if I butcher, but I've tried so many times to get this right. Soliloquium with Famine. This is some super depressing melodic death doom in all of the best ways, and what else could my broken soul possibly want? The fifth album from the Swedish duo is doing astounding work for the genre, creating some of the most tear-jerking melodic death doom that I've heard all year. It's so effective from its just raw sound enough, to its use of melodies and harmonies that strike at your heartstrings, to the super heavy moments that come in and just destroy everything in its path. This is a band that you need in your life if you enjoy the likes of October Tide, Daylight Dies, November's Doom, and especially Rapture and Counting Hours. Seriously. It's a heartbreaking album, but in a world that we currently live in like we do in 2025, it fits the atmosphere, and it might give you a nice cathartic cry. I know it did for me. If you love melodic death doom, or you want to see a stellar example of what it's all about, make sure to check this out. And there you go, folks, 20 brand new albums for Out Today and What I Missed for April 18th, 2025. What do you think? Did I pick out some good albums? Did I pick out some bad albums? Did I miss anything? Anything I should check out? Anything you're gonna stay away from? Please let me know in the comments down below. And make sure to like, follow, subscribe, all of that good stuff. We just hit over 1,500 subscribers. I can't thank you enough. And next week will be a bit of a shorter episode as well too, where I'll also be covering 20 albums for April 28th, 2025. If you skip the intro of the show, I had a nervous breakdown, so I need to just take it easy and just do another 20 albums. I know that still sounds like a lot to a lot of people, and I totally understand, but for me, it feels like I'm doing too little. But hey, I'll be back at it, hopefully in full force, in May. But until then, for the Heavy Debriefings YouTube channel, this is Josh Ronquist saying, embrace the skullet.